Hello, everyone, and welcome to Black Ops 1.
You see that, Hind? We're gonna take it.
Today, we're taking a look at the mission Payback that's towards the end of the Black Ops 1 campaign. It takes place in Vietnam, starting off in the caves with some Russian roulette, before we steal a helicopter and chase down Kravchenko. And of course, with a little bit of no-clip, we'll be able to take a look outside the map and at some of these things from a very different perspective.
What?
Mason, you with me?
Woods. Dragovich is fucking with us.
We start off inside of a cage, getting pulled out by a couple of Vietnamese soldiers, and then brought to a table to play some Russian roulette with Bowman. Except Bowman is a little bit tired.
Bowman.
Tired. I just want to end
You
this.
don't mean that, Bowman.
Fuck you, Charlie.
When using some no-clip during the scene, unfortunately the camera is locked. But if we hit it at the right time, we can get some pretty interesting perspectives around this table. The first one here shows an AK-47 laying on the ground, kind of glitched into it, and I believe this is the weapon model that one of the AI is going to be using shortly.
Communist piece of shit.
Bowman! Bowman! You fucking son of a bitch!
We can also see what happens to Bowman right after he dies. First of all, he hits the floor hands first, which I imagine this was an error in mocap. But we can also see that Bowman starts to get dragged away, and then glitches into the ground a bit before despawning. And then right next to this, Wood spawns, and then makes his way to the table.
Woods. Shit.
Motherfuckers. We're gonna make them pay.
You! No talk. Play!
What's the plan?
I'm thinking.
No talk!
Woods takes a chance, starting off the game of Russian roulette as normal.
Bang! You can't kill me! You shoot, GI, you shoot! Fuck!
Although you can see that Woods takes a look at the cylinder a few times, and it very well might be the case that he can see the cartridge that hasn't been shot yet, the live round and the revolver, as he signals to Mason that it's time.
This time, do it.
In line!
Ready.
Play.
And you can also see the moment when Mason raises the gun to his headless character model, which is quite funny to see. As things start to kick off here, we can see a few things happen. First of all, that AK is no longer on the ground, and we can see that Dragovich starts to run away before freezing in the tunnel. And I've always wondered if it was possible to catch up with Dragovich, but it turns out he instantly teleports from that starting room to the very end of the tunnels. And also, during this scene, Woods freezes for a second before putting the machete in the head of one of the soldiers and then running off behind you to shoot in the corner, which is really strange to see that that's what he does. Not exactly sure why this is. I imagine they want the gun sounds, but they also don't want Woods to get in your way of shooting the two people in front of you. Or Woods to shoot them himself, as it's sort of your job in this little scene. It seems we can also get Woods to glitch out here and just start running into the table. Seems like he doesn't exactly know what to do if you haven't been able to shoot them and are somehow still alive. And I think he's stuck there now, actually. He doesn't seem to be following me whatsoever. Oh, there we go. Fixed it.
Don't let that bastard get away!
But before we move on with Woods here, if we go underneath the ground, we can see where Bowman ended up. It turns out his model is still here. It just simply teleported a few inches under the dirt.
Bowman!
We also can go through this little wooden gate and see where we were held at the very beginning of the mission, the two little cages in the water. It's pretty cool to see that this entire area actually exists, and not only that, it also makes sense with the area where you were brought to. Considering there's some black screens between this animation and the one that happens at the table, this very much so is not necessary, but it's really cool to see that this is how they did it. Moving on up through the tunnels, we're met with a choice to take a left down through a tunnel, or take a right and go up with Woods. To the left, there's a bit of a drop down, and as we make our way up, some soldiers drop down in front of us. There's a little hole above us, and if we go ahead and fly up into it, we can see that there's a couple plants modeled above, but there is no ground up here. There's quite literally nothing else other than the tunnel in this area. But we also see right in front of us an armory, stacked with a ton of weapons. Behind this armory, there's a little bit of an out-of-bounds space, a tunnel that leads off to nowhere, which is kind of cool to see for a bit of ambiance. Although, to be honest with you, I've never noticed that it was there. And there is another one of these little drop-down areas here, which this one, if we go on up through it, we can see that it's inside of a rock. So it doesn't make a ton of sense how that would work, but we do get to see the start of the map here, as it's no longer just tunnel, and we actually have some mountains here that are drawn.
Clear him out! We only care about the Russians!
But of course, up ahead of us is Dragovich, and if we fly on over there ahead of time, we can see him staged and ready for this little scene.
Damn right he is.
He's quite literally just clinging onto the side of this wall, before he starts his animation of climbing up, and then you shoot him down.
There, piece of shit's trying to escape! Bring him down, Mason!
If you don't shoot him, Woods will instead, and he'll fall to the ground just as normal.
Wake the fuck up, Mason! For Bowman!
For Bowman.
Although you can sometimes get this animation to glitch out, and there is an end to it where he actually escapes through the wooden barricade. It could be the case that the developers wanted to leave the option on the table for Dragovich to be killed later, perhaps, maybe in the scene before stealing the helicopter. But it is very obvious that this animation does have that ending, at least if it doesn't get interrupted by Dragovich being shot. Now, before we climb on up into here, if we fly on out, we can see that there is nothing out here. There's no AI, and there is no Hind. But while we're here, let's just soak in the atmosphere a bit and take a look at some details that are a little bit hard to notice exist. For one, right next to us is a massive river, the same river, of course, that you fly your helicopter over in just a moment, but I don't think I ever noticed that it stretched this far. In fact, it stretches very far. It continues outside of the map down this way, through some brush, before ending off with a little village of some extremely low poly buildings and a little boat here as well, which I don't think that there's a way that you would ever see that this exists. Behind all this, of course, we have some 2D mountains and some 3D ones as well. And of course, a whole bunch of vegetation. And we can also take a good look at the entire tunnel system all at once, which is a really cool thing to see. For some reason, there's this massive brush of like a tree texture that cuts off this beginning section of the tunnels right at this point before opening up into the big old open area. I'm guessing this is for lighting concerns, although I'm not exactly sure. And lastly, over here to the right, we have a little waterfall, which looks really, really weird up close. But alright, Woods, it's time. Let's go ahead and climb up out of here.
8, 24, 17.
Kravchenko's compound can't be far. Evil bastard's days are numbered!
20, 15.
You see that, Hind? We're gonna take it. Take the shot.
As it turns out in this scene, if you decide not to shoot no matter what, eventually all of the AI will figure out that you're there. It's a little bit of a strange detail, as it doesn't exactly make sense how they are able to do that. And there is a way to completely mess up this scene, however. You can no-clip out here ahead of time and then kill all of the enemy. If you do this and then try to continue the mission as normal, Woods will say that it's clear before he even says the famous Hind line.
Clear. Let's fly this bird. You see that, Hind? We're gonna take it.
And it will cause him to teleport as well, directly in front of the bird. There is a random truck here that will start driving off into the distance before despawning down the road, but other than that, there isn't really much animation going on here. So I suppose it's time. Let's go ahead and hop in the Hind.
Okay, what's our loadout? UV-32 rockets, 12mm nose cannon. These bastards are ready for World War III.
Orders on. My stick.
UV-32's assigned. 12mm cannon assigned.
We have full power. You ready?
Ready.
I'll take her up above the canopy, then hand over the stick.
Clear.
I'll call targets as I see them. All enemy targets are valid. Understand? We have coordinates for Kravchenko's compound. We follow the river all the way.
Got it. Give me the stick.
You're a bird. Keep your eyes on the dirt. I don't want to get shot in the balls.
Got you, Woods.
And here we are, flying the Hind. Which, during this time, I can use no-clip and take a look at what the model looks like outside. It's very shiny. It's pretty funny to see that literally the only texture that's sort of loaded normal is where the cockpit is.
Storage highway below. See that fueling station up ahead?
And of course, along the way, there is a ton of things to shoot at. And we can get an up-close look at some of these soldiers that are just running along the ground.
Incoming! Move! That's not good. We need to get closer. In that cave!
And as we continue forward, we're met with a SAM site, firing missiles at us.
Clear them out! Good job. That's the last bird those bastards bring down.
It's over here in this cave, and of course, if you don't dodge the missiles, they will hit you and destroy you. But using a little bit of no-clip, we can take a look at this SAM site. It's pretty strange looking, actually. And of course, the tunnel itself. There's a few models here with some boxes and some very tiny barrels. And the cave leads back to this open area where there is no modeling. But of course, one of the coolest parts about this mission is the historic significance that they added on top of it.
Holy shit, Mason! We hit the mother lode! That's the Ho Chi Minh Trail down below us!
Because, of course, in normal Call of Duty fashion, what if we stumbled across, haphazardly, the Ho Chi Minh Trail, the main supply line used for logistics by the Vietnamese army. And in-game, there is a ton of AAs to destroy, as well as buildings, and seemingly infinitely spawning AI. We can see that these guys will just run off the map and then despawn, right after freezing in place. And as we head on further, we run into some more Hinds, 2 of them that we have to destroy. And it's kind of crazy just how inaccurate these rocket pods are. Although I suppose that is accurate to how they are in real life, as they're just dumbfire missiles.
One down! One to go! Fuck yeah!
Payback, you sons of bitches!
As we get to the end of our journey, we're supposed to go over there, where the checkpoint marker is. But very interestingly, we can indeed start flying further down the river. Although, there's a bit of an invisible barrier that will stop us. But of course, with no clip, we could see what's really out here. Which, as we fly our way further down the river, it seems that we're approaching an extremely bright light. But the river does just keep on going. It seems that this is just an effect that's applied in lieu of like a fog. But eventually, the river does end with some 2D textures to cut it off. And something that is really interesting about this river, you can swim in it. This entire area has collision. Not just for bullets from your helicopter, but also you. You can just walk through here. Quite literally make your way down the Ho Chi Minh Trail, which is a really cool experience, although a lot of stuff out here is pretty low poly. The models for the buildings, however, for the most part are HD, but you can run all the way back and see some pretty interesting details like floating trees, as well as a bridge that clips itself underneath the map. But of course, as we make our way over here, we can see the AI do still exist, at least the ones that you didn't kill. And they do seem to work as normal AI. And you can even get them to commit a little bit of friendly fire, which is always a good time, I suppose. The ones that are constantly shooting RPGs will always be doing this until you get in range. And when you do that, they'll pull out their rifle and start shooting at you. So long as they're not interrupted by an RPG, that is. And something that is really cool about this, all you have to do is touch the buildings and they'll explode. I literally mean just touch them. It's gone. And this isn't because there's RPGs being shot at me. It seems that there is some sort of trigger in this area that if you get close enough to these buildings, they will be destroyed. And I imagine this is so they can make the feeling of crashing into a building with a helicopter actually work. As for the AI that are just running along, they are sort of low poly. Although you can shoot them. They will not react to you though whatsoever. They won't try and fire back, and it does look like their models are quite a bit different than the other models that you find around the mission. For one, if we take a close look at their faces, we can see that they have very little detail. But they do have these little red flags tied around their arms. But alright, let's go ahead and land this bird.
Kravchenko's compound's just to the south. I'm setting her down in the clearing.
19, 8, 24, 17.
No reason to play this quiet, Mason.
And we can also see this landing from a different perspective. And the exact moment that the helicopter changes from this low poly model to the normal model we get to see when we get out of the cockpit. This also spawns another helicopter right next to us, as well as a whole bunch more models in the area. That was awesome. So I'm gonna take a sip of the coffee. Because, of course, I have my coffee with me here this morning. I hope wherever you are, whatever time you're watching this, you're enjoying yourself, because I absolutely love the Black Ops 1 campaign. This probably is my favorite campaign of all time. I absolutely love this game, and being able to see some of these details from a really different perspective and take a look outside the maps that I've always tried to get out of is an awesome experience. I hope you guys are enjoying this as much as me, and if you are, then consider leaving a like down below. It helps me out a ton, and of course, make sure you're subscribed so you can come back for more. But without further ado, let's continue. Before moving on up ahead here, let's go ahead and no-clip and see what these models are doing. There's a few of them that are just sitting idle, and if we fly on into the cave, we can see there is absolutely nothing inside of here. But of course, all of this will change as you actually make your way through the checkpoints, and all of the AIs start to spawn in ahead of you.
Mason, grab that flamethrower. We'll burn these bastards.
As you make your way into the cave, there's a couple interesting details. One, there's an AI with a flamethrower attachment, which there's actually a custom line from Woods to tell you to pick it up, something I never noticed back in the day. But not only this, there's also some signals from some US soldiers.
Who's out there?
Hey! Hey! Help us, please!
Mason, they're POWs.
You're here for us?
Oh, thank God. Please, hurry.
Sog, we're gonna get you out.
Ones that are being held within these holding chambers. Although we can see that inside of them, there is no character models. And even with the one that has Reznov in it, there's simply just a bucket. But of course, if we walk up to him without no clip, we'll hit the button.
That you? Reznov, get you out.
And suddenly, Reznov will spawn. We can see an AK on the ground that spawned in for him to pick up.
This way. We cannot let him slip through our grasp. I thought you were dead. When we were captured at the river, they brought me here.
Mason, what the fuck
I was
are you
to be
doing?
returned to
We gotta
Russia.
get these guys out.
And a little explanation that apparently this is where he was brought after he was captured after Vorkuta. And Woods even has this line saying, "Mason, what are you doing?" Signaling that you're not really talking to Reznov here. But moving up now, we need to clear out the tunnel, as there is a ton more AI that spawn up ahead of us. And at the end, Kravchenko, looking through the glass, seemingly quite angry at the fact that we've escaped, and we've pinned him in a corner. He has a little animation where it looks like he's rooting for his soldiers to win the fight, sort of signaling them before throwing up his hands in frustration. But of course, his men do not win the fight. As in normal Call of Duty fashion, you're able to kill all of these guys with ease. What is pretty interesting to see is that Kravchenko, of course, cannot be killed ahead of time, but you can no-clip in here, and you can shoot him. It just doesn't exactly have much of an effect. There are some other pretty interesting details here, such as what is on the desk. You get to see this at the very end of the mission, but right now, we get to take a look at it up close, and without a time limit. On the left is part of the mission Project Nova, where you play as Reznov in the Arctic. And by the looks of it, that's him right there, isn't it? And in the middle, of course, we have Steiner, Dragovich, and Kravchenko, with a little 1945 up in the top right-hand corner. On the desk, we also have a map of Rebirth Island, looking like it's somewhere in the East China Sea. Although, this could also be the Philippines. But alright, it's time. Let's go ahead and open the door. Let's see this final scene. Kravchenko hits you over the head with a chair before he begins to fight Woods, throwing him onto the ground and then walking over to you.
Not this time, American.
We get a weird third-person look at him stomping in your headless character.
You again.
As Woods gets up with a knife in his hand,
I should have killed you in Vorkuta.
stabs him.
Got you now, you son of a bitch.
You will die with me.
23, 4, 22, 21,
What?
4, 0, 14.
And after going to a black screen,
I got you, Mason.
What?
we can see Woods in front of us.
You're okay.
Although, seconds later,
Are you okay? Mason.
Where's off?
Kravchenko is dead. Dragovich, Kravchenko, Stein, all must die.
For God's sake, where is the number station?
But of course, we have to take a look at that from a different perspective. And with the use of a cinematic camera, that is exactly what we get. We can see what happens to the body of Woods and Kravchenko after the explosion. They slowly sink into the ground before Woods despawns and Kravchenko gets up and walks away, which is a really strange thing to see happen. Apparently, Kravchenko somehow survived that blast, and certainly Woods did as well. As you can see an AK-47 floating through the air that's attached to his body, that's just now made invisible. A very iconic sequence, and it's absolutely awesome to be able to see it this way. Which brings me to a huge thanks to all of you. We just recently hit 25,000 subscribers, and that is absolutely insane to me. So thank you all for the support. And coming up very soon, there'll be another comment section episode where we go over suggestions that you guys give me in the comment section. So if you have any, make sure you leave them down below.
Fuck!
But that is it for me, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, then consider leaving a like down below. It helps me a ton, and of course, make sure to subscribe so you can come back for more. There are a ton more missions in Black Ops 1 that we haven't done yet, as well as other titles, and plenty more out-of-bounds content to be found. If you want to watch more of my videos, you can click one of the ones on your screen right now, but if not, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay awesome. Peace out.
I don't need...